So what's up guys, it's Ash here and welcome back to a brand new video. Now today we have our 4-3-2-1 custom tactics that we've been using in qualies for a few games. We didn't use them in every single game, but we did use them for the majority. And yeah, they've been pretty good. I just wanted to say one thing before we start the video, and that is that the tactics will start to take a bit more of a backseat on the channel soon. We are going to try and implement some different type of content onto the channel, you know, more varied stuff, different things. You know, I've got one coming out in the next couple of days, which is something different because I realized that the channel can be like overloaded with this kind of stuff. I did get a comment the other day which said, look, you can change up your content, you know, it'll just make it a lot better for the channel. I think the only thing that I struggle with is that sometimes it's very volatile with the views, so you can try something and put loads of time into it and it absolutely flops, and then, you know, it's just a bit stressful, man. But I'm going to give it a go because I want the content to be as good as possible on this channel. But yeah, I don't know how long this video is going to be because I do have to go out. But yeah, let's get right into the video, guys. I hope you enjoy. If you guys want coins for FC24, make sure you check out MMOEXP.com. Their link is down in the description. They're very fast, they're very cheap, they're very reliable, and if you use my code Rema, you can get yourself a lovely 5% discount. Alrighty then, guys. So for the tactics on the defensive style, as always, we have this on balance. You guys know by now, I absolutely love balance, and the reason I like it so much is because it does just give you the best control over your defense. So when you want to be like aggressive and press your opponent, you can do that. And then if you want to drop back, be a little bit more passive, you can also do that. So it does just give you the great control, especially when you are manually defending, which is why I like it so much. If you want to use a pressure tactic, however, that's completely fine. I just don't really like to do that. Now for the defensive width, guys, one thing I've always told people on this game is it's better to use a more narrow defensive width, in my opinion, because although people go for these cutbacks down the wing all the time, they'll do that regardless of what your width is. So I think it's at least better to be solid through the middle and block out all those attacks through the middle, and then manually getting out to the wings when somebody tries to cut back, because at least then you block one method of attack, you know, completely with a nice narrow approach. So I prefer a narrow width, but you guys can up it if you like. Now for the depth, guys, there are a couple of options you can use here. The first one is the 71 depth thing, which a lot of people like to use. Now this used to be really effective before EA updated the game. Basically gives you an automatic press. The game will defend for you a lot of the time. Now after the update, I don't really think it's super necessary, and I personally don't like the automatic press all the time because I like to do things my way. So I don't personally like to use 71 depth anymore. I prefer to go for something like 60, where we still keep the higher defensive line, but we have a bit more control over the way we defend. If you guys think this is a little bit too aggressive, though, you can still lower it, and that is also fine. It's all about finding what works for you guys. Now moving on to the build-up play, we have this on balance. Now the reason we have it on balanced is it just gives you the best control, a bit like the defensive style. You know, when you want to play quick, you can. If you want to slow down and play a little bit slower, you can do that. So it really does give you the best control, which the other settings don't give you, which is why I suggest it so much. Now for the chance creation, guys, another absolute must in my opinion is the direct passing. The reason direct passing is so important is because it's the only setting which will actually allow you to break down that park the bus defense. So when you use direct passing, your attackers will initiate these runs, your opponent's defenders will follow that run, and then your attacker will track back so you can cut back to them. So it is a very boring tactic, but a very effective one nonetheless, guys. Moving on to the attacking width, because this is a narrow formation, we don't want to add crazy high width because it makes it more like a 4-3-3 than you would like, but you also don't want to make it too narrow, otherwise it can actually be really congested in the middle and even more difficult to attack. So you want to find that middle ground. Something like 45, 250 is something that I would say is good, guys. Now moving on to the players in box, this is a preference thing, but I have it on 5. This is so we can get a few players into the box to finish off our chances, but we don't overcommit absolutely everybody. And then for the corners and free kicks, I have these both on 1, but you guys can do whatever you would like with that. Sorry to interrupt the video, guys, but I have noticed around 90% of you that watch the videos are not subscribed to the channel. So if you are enjoying the content or finding it helpful, please consider adding that subscription, as it does help me out massively. Also, don't forget to drop a like on the video as well. And with all that aside, guys, I hope you enjoy. Let's continue. Now, moving on to the player instructions, guys. On the striker, I have them on stay central and mixed attack. Now, we have them on stay central because we don't want this player drifting out into the wider areas. They are a striker, so it is important that they do maintain those more central positions so they are of most use to you. If they're drifting out wide all the time, they're not always going to be in the best positions where you want your striker to be. So stay central, pretty important on the striker. I also prefer mixed attack as opposed to getting behind on this player, because I just feel like you get more out of them. You know, you're not just restricting them to getting in behind all the time and playing that one-dimensional way. Sometimes they'll come short and help build up, which is really important in my opinion, guys. Now for the right forward, I just have them on balance width and get in behind. I prefer balance width in FC24 as opposed to stay central on these forwards, because I think it's important that these players do have a little bit of width when we are attacking, because it is still slightly too congested in the middle a lot of the time. So you do want them to stay in the narrow areas as much as possible, but sometimes they'll drift out wide to give you that extra option, which is very useful when somebody is using a pressure tactic, which is why balance width is pretty good. We also have this player on getting behind, so they utilize their pace to get in behind that high defensive line, which a lot of people like to use. Now for the left forward guys, we have them on the same instructions for the exact same reason, but we also have them on comeback on defense. Now we have them on comeback on defense, so it makes it a 4-man midfield. Now I'm not always a big fan of this, but in terms of like grinding out results, very effective, because by making this a 4-4-2, by putting this player on comeback on defense, you get really good coverage of both the narrow and the wide areas, which makes it hard for your opponent to attack. So this player will come back to defend as a left mid in the 4-4-2 shape. So the way my team would set up is Butragueno and Rodrigo strikers when we don't have the ball, Dembele left mid, Gayorro left centre mid, Tchouaméni right centre mid, and Griezmann right mid. So that was the way it's set up. It's just very effective for grinding out wins, guys. Now for the left centre mid, the box-to-box player, we have them on the default settings and cover centre. We leave them on the default settings because they are more box-to-box, so we don't just want to restrict them to defending all the time, but cover centre is important, so you know they do maintain that central position when we are defending, and it doesn't mess up the 4-4-2 shape. Now for the middle centre mid guys, I use a more defensive minded player here. So on this player, stay back while attacking, stay on the edge of the box across, and cover centre. Stay back, very important, because you don't want this player flying forward if they are more defensive. So stay back's very important, so you've always at least got one defensive player back in the midfield. Stay on the edge of the box across, so if they do find themselves on a run forward, they're not going to commit into the penalty area and leave you unstuck if you lose the ball. And then cover centre so that they're always covering those central areas as they are supposed to, guys. Moving on to the right centre mid, we can use an actual attacker here because, like I said, it defends in a 4-4-2 shape, and this player here on the cover wing instruction will defend as a right midfielder as opposed to a right centre mid. So you can get away with using an actual attacker here, as they don't have to have the best defensive stats. One thing I would suggest though is like a high work rate, so they're very quick to transition into attack and to defence. You know, it's just really effective to have that. But on this player, because they're more attacking, get forward, get into the box for cross, and cover wing to get the most out of them, guys. Now on one fullback, I suggest balanced attack and overlap. This is because, like I said, it is a narrow formation and it can be a little bit congested in the middle. So by having one fullback going on the overlap, it stretches out your opposition's defense because they have to get out to the overlap, so it opens up the space and then your narrow players can get through like that. So just having that one fullback on the overlap is actually extremely underrated and will actually allow you to attack much easier, in my opinion. For the more defensive fullback, have them on stay back and overlap, so you always have at least 3 defenders back at a time, but when you send them on a run forward, they'll make the overlapping runs to add that extra width as well. For the 2 centre backs, guys, I leave them alone, and the keeper, I also leave them alone, but you can do comes crosses and sweeper keeper if you would like. But yeah, guys, that is it for the video. If you have enjoyed or found it useful, please be sure to drop it a like, sub to the channel if you are new, and don't forget to turn on notifications. And with all that aside, guys, I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll catch you all in the next video. Peace.